June has come to be recognized as Pride Month around the world because around the world people pause to remember and recognize and celebrate a moment that became a movement for freedom and justice and liberation. On June 28, 1969, police came to arrest the patrons of the Stonewall Inn, a gay bar in New York City. And those patrons had finally had enough of that police abuse, and they resisted, they rose up, and they demonstrated, led by trans women of color and drag queens. They said enough is enough. And a demonstration and an uprising that lasted for 5 days at that time grew to a movement that has swept our world. So many freedoms have been secured, so many advances have been made, and yes, there's still so much more work to be done. But we recognize in Pride Month that moment which has forever changed our lives, our destiny, and our world. We in Metropolitan Community Church also recognize that the story of MCC is inextricably linked with the story of Stonewall and the gay liberation movement, because MCC was pregnant with that spirit that broke forth on Stonewall. Almost 9 months exactly prior to Stonewall, Reverend Troy Perry gathered with 12 people in the living room of his pink house in Huntington Park, Southern California, and held the very first worship service for Metropolitan Community Churches, also now a movement that spans the globe. MCC, Pride, Stonewall are forever linked. Not just because we were born out of the struggle for the freedoms and the recognition of God's gay, lesbian, bi, trans, non-binary, big inclusive tent of all of God's children, but because as people of faith who have claimed our religious identity and our story, we realize that that is the Spirit of God at work. We recognize that spirit at work in the ancient children of Israel as they were freed from oppression in Egypt through the story and the witness of the work and the life of Jesus Christ, who freed us from brokenness and bondage to sin and death. We recognize as people of faith that every time, in every place, whoever or whatever their circumstances, if people are in oppression, the Spirit of God is going to rise up to set them free. Our freedoms are always linked to the freedoms of others. Beloved friends, that is why we always celebrate Pride. Not only for who we are, but for whom we bear witness, and that is the Spirit of the freeing and liberating God. I pray that now and always you will experience a happy and blessed Pride.